sans dire à tout.
What's going on, jerk faces? It's your boy Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. It's a conversation you could be having during the day, but having at night. Yes, today, still haven't been able to find a replacement because Robert is still fired. That has not changed. So all you Robert fans, just get over it and just wait till I find a new co-host for this thing. And it'll be way better without Robert, is what I'm trying to say. No, of course, I'm only joking because, yes, Robert has been hard at work, working hard. One of his co-workers was recently deployed because he was a Marine reservist, and so he was deployed, and so now Robert is short-handed at the office, and so he has a lot more things to do at work, and so he wasn't able to make it. He wasn't able to make the live stream, but he's still fired because he's an ingrate and a diva. I could totally find someone better. Yeah. So I guess I'll get this conversation, or in this case, a soliloquy, started. Guess I'll start, as is my custom to do, is talk about my weekend. Didn't really do terribly much this weekend. I mean, that's not true. I did go out and hang out with some people. I went and hung out with James and Dancing Jason. First, on Saturdays, we met up at a bar here in the valley called Surly Goat. And it was for one of James's jiu-jitsu friends. I think Julia, I believe is her name. Yes, her and her husband are planning on moving up to San Francisco. I don't exactly remember when, but they are planning. I think within the next month, they're planning on moving up to San Francisco because Julia got a new job, and so they're moving up there for that. It was really chill. Had some drinks, had some food, some good conversation. It was pretty interesting because I was talking with Julia's husband, whose name escapes me right now. But he was a solid dude. He was a real salt of the earth, kind of guy. And what was it? He lost his leg in a motorcycle accident. And so, because of this, we had a little bit to talk about, and we were just talking about the difficulties of, being somewhat physically limited, and it was really interesting because he was really one of those glass half full type of people. At least to me, that's how he seemed. I mean, I just met the guy, but the vibe, the energy he was giving off, and just the things from what he was saying, I really felt that he was, he's really a lax dude. But again, we were talking about just uh, just the day to day, sometimes inconveniences, sometimes struggles of being physically limited. Um, and I remember, and he was all about the attitude. He was all about like, I could either let this, stop me, or I could let it, make me stronger. And he was very much of the mindset of, I'm going to get stronger from this. And I share some of my own experiences, particularly the reaction of people. Um, just being completely amazed that I'm able to do things. I remember one time I was at a Starbucks, and this woman who identified herself as a nurse that worked at the VA, she damn near applauded me because uh, because I was handling my wallet, my money, my cell phone, and then I was able to like take the drink, grab a straw, rip off the cover, the sleeve for the straw, and then stick it into my drink. And she was just kind of like, she was like, oh, like she didn't actually applaud me, but she practically did. It kind of felt like she wanted to in a weird way. And so, she was telling me like how great and wonderful you're doing all these things for yourself, and kind of as like kind of like a smart alecky way, kind of a smart alecky, as I inclined to be. In my smart alecky way, I replied back to her as like, if this impresses you, you should see me make an omelet. And so, and then she damn near pissed herself, because she was like so excited, and but we also kind of talked about the what is it? The kind of role that we play as physically limited individuals, um, as a reminder that things could always be worse. And I mean, again, I shared another instance out of from my own experience with him. I remember I was out at a bar or club or small lounge in Hollywood, and this girl, I was talking to this girl, and she couldn't help herself. She couldn't help herself, and was saying like, oh, it's so great that you're out and about, and so good to see you out. And so I, again in my charming yet smart alecky way, I said, yeah, this is such, this is such a change for me from my usual Saturday night plans of crying underneath my underneath my covers. So it's just so I'm not gonna say that my life is easy, because because my life is not, and no one's life is. And we all have our own struggles, and whether they be physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, we all have our own stuff to deal with. But it's just from every now and again, it's really hard being everyone's reminder that that your situation could be much worse. And it was funny because I had come to a very I come to I came upon an epiphany a few years back, and And that epiphany was that I'm not disabled. Yeah, I mean, I know you guys, you guys are hearing that. And it's like, whoa, 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 homie. It's like, how are you? It's like, how are you not disabled? Well, let me explain. You know, disability has a, you know, the definition is, not having ability, or where you once had ability, uh, you no longer have that ability. And for me, that word doesn't apply, because I wasn't born with all 10 of my fingers, all 10 fingers. So really, I didn't lose anything. And there's and for the word disability, there's a denotation of loss. Like you had the ability, now then you lost it. But in my case, I didn't lose anything. I just came out, when I was born, this is how I was. And so there was no loss. So the word disabled, for me, it does not apply. And so and so so I mean, once I came to that realization, um, things became, I guess, more manageable. Because because I was no longer weighed down by the baggage of that word, disabled or disability. Because I finally realized that it no longer, it never applied to me. And so the loss that people think that I have, or I've experienced, is really all on them, and not so much on me. And so again, once I had that shift in my perspective, uh, it definitely it definitely it definitely helped me to perceive other things in my life differently, and to make strides, and to no longer feel that that I was somehow incomplete. Um, when I realized that I was complete, I was the moment I was born, and that you know you know if any of you were born to a world that did not take you into account, you'd you'd probably feel you'd probably feel pretty crappy. If you couldn't wear gloves, or you operate couldn't operate certain devices, or simple machines, or employ the handbrake on a bicycle. Uh, you'd probably feel pretty shitty about yourself, and have a negative outlook. And I'm not necessarily saying that before I made that epiphany about myself, I had those things. I mean, I definitely struggled. uh, with kind of feeling crappy about my situation. But again, it was just one of those things that just one of those things that, it's more on the other person than it is on me, because and instantly, you know when I no longer identify with that word, disabled, it's just like there was such a lightness that came over me, and I felt, that I was able to bear my burden a little easier, because that one little brick was, taken off my shoulders. And so, it's kind of, it's not too dissimilar from, what's happening right now with what is it, Kanye West, and his endorsement of Trump, and him agreeing with a certain mindset, you know, of one, Candace Owens. It's, and I recognize that in Kanye, that he is a little bit lighter, and there are people that, who are saying like, no, 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 you don't know. It's like, no, no, you think you're free, but you're actually more enslaved. And it's just like, how could you say that to somebody who is exercising uh, you know their freedom, their right to free speech, their right to think differently than you know. And there are people coming out of the woodwork, like John Legend, who was trying to use his fans as a bludgeon to get Kanye back in line to the way of, that him and a lot of media people think. And it's just like, how, why would you go and uh, bludgeon someone, or attempt to bludgeon somebody who thinks a little bit differently than you do? I mean, where does it say that we have to all think and act and believe the same things? No, nowhere does it say that we all have to agree on one, on a specific issue, the same way. I mean, so in that way, and in that same way, I no longer, you know, uh, burden myself with the idea that I was disabled. Much in the same way as with Kanye, where he just wants to be able to think for himself, and he wants to, and he's not about hate. He said that he wants nothing but, he doesn't want to do anything but spread love. You know, and I mean, that doesn't sound like a horrible thing. To think for yourself and spread love. I mean, more people should be doing that. I mean, am I wrong? But the ghost of Robert. Your condition isn't your identity. That is correct. My condition is not my identity. But my mentality that kept me from achieving certain things, or held me in a specific position, so I couldn't see, all the angles. That was what was detrimental. That is what made me disabled. Hey, I mean, Robert, you want to jump? You want to jump onto here? Just hit me up on the Skype. Sorry, folks. Yeah, yeah, because Robert said that he was going to be late because he's getting off of work late, and so, um, but just because I started doesn't mean that he can't join. So let me just pull up. Let me just do something. Something. Alright, hold on, guys. Don't freak out. Don't freak out. Don't freak out. Don't freak out. See? Don't freak out. Let me see. Hold on, I'm sorry, guys. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. Robert. Oh, son of a. Hold on. Alright. Now, the people should be able to hear you.
Okay, that's good. Or not. I don't know. Maybe people don't want to listen to what I have to say.
What was that?
Well, I said that could be a good or bad thing. I don't think people want to necessarily listen to what I have to say most of the time. So
Yeah. No, well, yeah, no, I'm not a crazy person anymore. At least. Talking to myself.
and I'm not. And apparently, like George Steinbrenner and Billy Martin, I'm hired again. So you know,
Right, yeah, I know. I was calling you, like I was reading your comments and I said like, oh, it's the ghost of Robert.
Yep.
So yes.
I'm alive. I'm not dead yet, though.
Yeah.
I'm pretty darn close to it. Yeesh.
What was it?
Though I'm pretty darn close to it.
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah, because you're super white. That's the joke. That's the joke. That's the punchline. Yeah. I mean. Yeah. What is it? Your last call.
So
well, one of your
what's going on?
Sorry.
No, I was saying. So, what's on the agenda for tonight? What are we talking about?
Well, I talked about my. I started off talking about my weekend and what had happened, which was going to lead into another anecdote, but
I ruined that.
I'm sorry.
But I ruined it.
Wait, hold on. I can barely hear you. That's more on my end, so let me. All right. What was that?
But apparently, I ruined your anecdote because I jumped in.
I know. What a dick. Um. Yeah. Well. Yeah. Just it was just an interesting conversation that I was having with that girl's husband, whose name I'm really sorry. I can't remember right now. But he was a good guy, and Again, he lost his leg in a motorcycle accident, and just his attitude was great. He wasn't one
Wow.
of those. He wasn't one of those "woe is me" like type, but
Feel
he.
sorry.
What was that?
Wasn't one of those feel sorry for me types.
Yeah.
네. 거의 호텔에.
Ah, Jesus Christ. Anyway, yeah, he wasn't one of those "woe is me" types, and he did it. He was also, because apparently they had kids. They have kids too, and like the oldest is what was it, 6 years old, I believe, and you know, he was against. She came home one day with a participation trophy, and like he like immediately broke it in half in front of her.
Nice. That's
Right. I
should,
mean,
that should be the case.
as it should be, right? Because no participation trophies. So no awards for just showing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm not a big fan of that. Yeah, my weekend was not very exciting. I spent most of my time working.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, I worked about a week's worth of work in just a few days. I worked about 40 hours this weekend.
Oh wow. This weekend?
Yeah.
40 hours just this weekend alone.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was unpleasant.
I bet.
But other than that, obviously, for me, it was the Sunday was the greatest day in motorsports. You had the Monaco Grand Prix, the Indy 500, and the NASCAR race at night, which is the Coca-Cola 600. So I wasn't able to watch it on Sunday. So I finished the first two races. Now I'm catching up on the last one that I recorded. And then Monday was Memorial Day, and it's all although I was working, it's kind of I always like to reflect. I think it's a good day to reflect on the sacrifices made for by people who've lost their lives in the military, fighting for us to defend liberties that we have, which is what allows us to do fun stuff like doing this podcast or live stream, or all the stuff that we do in this country. And it's like it's just one of those like really nice days to reflect on that.
Yeah, we truly do live in a remarkably free country.
It's the freest society that's ever lived.
Yeah, because I don't know if you've been keeping up with what's going on in other parts of the world. Because there was I don't know, there was that guy Tommy Robinson who was
Yep. Yeah.
who was thrown in jail for well, the official story is breach of peace, which I'm guessing is like the same thing as disturbing the peace here in America. But if for those of you unfamiliar with Tommy Robinson, he's this English bloke who started this group called the English Defense League, and he's very critical of Islam, and he was actually sent to prison for about a year on a trumped-up charge of mortgage fraud, which it's not like he defrauded anybody. It was just he co-signed for someone else who was applying for the mortgage, and I guess the person he co-signed for, like, what's the word I'm looking for? like fell through, or he wasn't able to make the payments, and so like they used that as an excuse to send him to prison, where he was attacked. He broke he broke his nose, broke his ribs. He was attacked pretty consistently throughout his stay in prison by a lot of the Muslim the Muslim gangs in prison. And so yeah, he was arrested. Here's the amazing thing: he was arrested, and then within an hour, he was sentenced to a year and a half in prison. Like no
Yeah,
like trial or
seems like pretty much like a kangaroo court in my in my eyes.
yeah. Although I did hear that that they were just reinstituting his suspended sentence of like 3 months, because I think from like maybe like another kind of grievance that he had, they were gonna send him to 3 months of prison, but then they got it to probation, and so this
Yeah,
might be so like this year and a half might be uh, a continuation of that suspended sentence, which was originally only 3 months. But I mean, like people don't like it. I don't even think that he's gonna even last a year and a half in prison.
no, it doesn't seem that way.
No, I
And
mean,
the one thing about this guy too, and well, he has said sometimes kind of outlandish things. The thing that he was apparently arrested for is that he was, there's a lot of these people are grooming children for these essentially sex slavery
mhm.
over there. And obviously he's filming these people doing this stuff, and I think as a way to show it to the public. It's like, this is what's going on. This is and this is a problem, and which it is a problem. It's disgusting,
Right.
and essentially from what I understand is that he was, they kind of created this disturbing the peace charge, but then what's even more outlandish is that people weren't even there. The judge said, "You're not even allowed to report on this, or you'll be like,
Right,
within
right. Because even if you talk about, yeah, because I think like the tricky thing that the judge did was like, even if you talk about Tommy Robinson, that because like the order was like you can't talk about this case, and so by talking about Tommy Robinson, you're like in a non-direct way still talking about the case, and so that if you do that, then you're gonna be fined, or you're gonna be sent to prison or whatever. So it's a scare tactic, to make sure that nobody talks about it.
yeah. I mean that's just God. That's horrendous,
I know
and
it's a very chilling, like it's very chilling, and because like what if there's some other kind of what if there's some other kind of court case, and not even Tommy Robinson, but someone else decides to go and like kind of report on it, and then they're thrown in prison for supposed breach of peace. And like and then like there's put those that tricky little condition put into the gag orders, like, oh, if you talk about this person, then you were talking about the case, and so and if you do that, then you're gonna be fined, or you're gonna be sent to prison, and
that
where does it end? Where does it end?
that opens
And
up Pandora's box of
exactly,
problems.
exactly. You're just opening Pandora's box, and like then you could put anyone into jail for whatever reason, and Yeah, and I mean with Tommy Robinson's case, like it's not as though he was giving new details. He was just, he was giving facts of the case that were published in newspapers. That the
Yeah,
information readily available to the public.
yeah, a guy that definitely didn't deserve to be, cast aside like that, or
Mhm.
thrown in jail like that, and that's essentially probably going to be his death sentence.
Yeah, right. And I mean, all he was doing was speaking out for the defenseless, for the children. It's like insert a Helen
Oh,
Lovejoy
so
meme here,
yeah. When
and
someone
there's your first Simpsons reference of the stream.
Oh, of course, yeah, we had to throw one in there since I'm here. So
Right? And so yeah, I mean, he was just Tommy Robinson was just speaking out for the defenseless children who were raped and brutalized and murdered. All the while, the British government, turned a blind eye, or you know, or you know, or handled it with kid gloves because these perpetrators belong to a certain religious group.
and this, and that's why we look at, the England is, yeah, it's a Western civilization and all but it's kind of destroying itself by the liberties that they do have. They're just like they're giving them away more and more, and I pray that never happens in this country. Although
I
people are
mean,
damn trying to eliminate them.
I don't know. I think we're on the precipice. Western civilization as a whole is on the precipice, and we're constantly voting for our own destruction.
Yeah, I see that.
That's what it boils down to. We are constantly, you know, you know, we're constantly voting for our own destruction. We don't have to worry about some invading army. If when we invite the army in, invading army in.
It's like we're accepting the Trojan horse.
Yeah, we're accepting the Trojan horse, knowing that that it's filled with Greeks.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh yeah, come on in, let's go.
Right?
It's scary, and
Yeah.
I hope I'm wrong. I'm dead and in the ground before that happens.
Right. Or at least, I hope to have punched up, I hope to have broken the jaws of, some uh, beta male soy boys. Whether figuratively or literally,
That's
I
not too
hope,
hard. Just breathe.
I hope when I'm old and, and too infirm to fight the battles, I hope I can think back to the time, I either figuratively or literally, punched, broke the jaws of these beta male soy boys.
Well, you can just like breathe on them, or say something that shocks them.
Oh yeah, and they just go and they just like go apoplectic. It's like there are only two genders. Like what?
Yeah, that's crazy to them.
Right. Hey, you know where I learned that? Bill Nye.
I know.
You
And
could try to hide it, but I learned that there are only two genders from Bill Nye. That should be a shirt. That should be a shirt.
That's true.
It's like everything I know I learned from Bill Nye.
The funny thing, and I don't know if this is true or not because I haven't looked it up myself. But apparently that episode, because I think they put up a lot of his old episodes either on Netflix or YouTube or something along.
Oh, that's lines. That's right.
But that episode on like how like
the chromosomes work, and yeah, it got scrubbed.
it's gone.
Yeah.
It's like,
wait, is it like is that entire episode gone, or did they just scrub that part out?
I think it's the entire episode.
Oh, okay. Because the last I heard that they scrubbed that part out. They left the rest of the episode, but they just took out that one part where like the girl's explaining how chromosomes work and how you're either a male or a female.
Oh man, it's just that. But now, but hey, we got a cool new rap song about there's so many genders
About the spectrum.
out there.
Oh god.
Easily the worst song of all time.
Yeah, I mean, no song has made my gag reflex, trigger so hard. Like, I physically felt ill watching that.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, what happened to Bill Nye? I mean, it's like, that's like learning that like Mr. Rogers like to stab people, like,
Oh yeah, or was it coke fiend?
Or finding out that Bill Cosby was a rapist. Oh crap!
Oh crap!
It's happening.
Yeah,
man,
something.
Like, all these guys from like our childhood that we looked up to, man. It's just times are changing, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because I'm kind of glad that James Avery died before all this craziness. Because he was the last good one. He was the last good one. Uncle Phil.
It's crazy because I don't think a show like that would ever be made today.
Of course not, because it celebrates the family and strong male role models. And they can't have that.
And the other thing that that's crazy about that show is because Uncle Phil went through the spectrum of political ideas where you learned a little bit about his youth where he was a little bit more of the radical
revolutionary.
Revolutionary, but then he woke up and worked hard, became a judge, and is like, I'm working to make changes on the inside, but he's a conservative guy at the same time.
Right.
So
yeah, I mean, here's the thing.
He's kind of he's a full spectrum of a character in a sense, and where now it's like in any show, I feel like we have all these caricatures of like, oh, we only think one way and nothing can change our mind. That's weakness. Like, no. And it's, I feel like the depth of characters like Uncle Phil or, even show, like the whole show of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was actually, it was funny, but it was also there was a lot of deep episodes that were like, I still think are pretty just, you get the tingles and the oof, like that was a powerful episode.
Yeah, I mean, but it's all pretty natural though, because because everyone goes through these like that kind of progression, because that the great Winston Churchill, that famous saying that you always screw up, like if you're not a liberal in your 20s, then you have no heart, and if you are not a conservative in your 30s, then you have no brains. And it's just kind of the cycle, because as a young person, you just want to matter, and you just want to be part of something, and be part of a grand movement and change. And you want everyone to feel included and feel validated and what have you. But as you get older, you're starting to see, like, especially when you garner some success, it's like, it's like the best should get the job. The fastest guy should be captain.
It was something that I think of too, and I've mentioned this point when we reviewed that show that you love so much.
Just shut the hell up.
But anyways, the point I was making is, when you're younger, is that the mind is very black and white. There's good guys, there's bad guys, there's the right way to do things, there's the wrong way to do things, and there's no in between, or there's no sense of nuance or realizing that problems are much bigger than right and wrong and left and right. And as you get older, as you grow up and go through these issues, you realize that it's not so easy to oh yeah, it just be this way, or if we just did this one thing, that would change the whole thing. It's like, no, actually it wouldn't, because you're not factoring in, B, C, D, and E, and if you change A, you mess up everything else too, and then everyone's screwed it. Instead of they think that, like I said, just changing that one thing, that'll change the whole world and we'll all be happy and we'll all be better for it. It's like, no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I must have had no heart as a kid, though, because I don't think I was very liberal at all.
I was close. I can admit that I was close. It was like I had the cup of Kool-Aid and like my lips were on the rim of the glass. I was really close.
Well, thank God we saved you from that.
It wasn't even
ordeal.
It wasn't even that, because what really did it was me going back to school. I mean, particularly the art school. And just being in it, because I remember. I mean, not to throw him under the bus, but my studio mentor. The studio is just what we call a group of us, because starting in junior year, they split us into groups, and when we had a mentor, an instructor to as kind of like our overseer, and like we would talk to about our ideas for different works and things like that. And I remember in my junior year, we had a end of the year review. This happened at the second semester, at the end of the second semester, into summer. And my mentor was a photographer as well. And he commented that he's like, oh yeah, we all know that that you, Andrew, can take a good photograph and make a good photograph. But what would be the opposite of that? And I was like, what? I was like, so he's like, are you? And I asked him, are you asking me to make a bad photograph? And he was like, oh no, but just to try and like broaden your perspective. But I was thinking about it, and it's like, yeah, he wanted me to make a bad photograph.
Yeah.
Overexposed, underexposed, out of focus. I mean, that's pretty much what he was saying I should do. Because he said like, oh, you've already mastered photography, so why don't you try doing not photography? Oops. And we lost Roberts. He's so fired. See, guys, this is why I have to fire him. Yeah, you fired, son.
Sorry, Skype shut off on me for some reason.
You fired. But, okay, what was the last thing that you remember me saying?
You were saying, like, you were talking about what would be the opposite of a good photograph.
Yeah, so I was like, I quizzitively responded, it's like, so you want me to do a bad photograph? And my mentor was like, no, of course not, but just maybe like trying to trying to get you to see something from a different perspective. I was like, so you want me to make a bad photograph, like overexposed, underexposed, out of focus, just like a crappy photo. And, I mean, that was essentially what he was telling me to do. And it was from that point where I was no longer that's when I essentially put the cup down, as it were, put the cup down, and we lost Robert again. Whoops. Yeah, we lost Robert again. So if he comes back, then he'll come back. But yes, for those of you unawares, I was very close. I was very close to becoming a liberal or a leftist, as the kids might say. Um, there are wacky times, but luckily, I recognize those things that they were kind of pushing in school, kind of like this, kind of the subjective, like subjective beauty, or no, they were actually pushing the opposite because they were talking about objective. Or no, I was right the first time. Subjective, like beauty, and how like nothing, like don't make anything pretty. I remember, and people would try and make things, and also like there was also like the feminist bent. Here we go, one more time.
Yeah.
We got you back.
I restarted my phone, so hopefully that'll
Okay.
help.
Okay. So yeah, I was just telling the good people out there that that's that was like one of the moments that kind of snapped me out of my days, and then another one was like just like the kind of rampant third wave feminism that constantly made me out to be the evil patriarch. And but I think I've shared this story with you before. I don't know if I
remember.
Yeah, have I shared this? Have I shared? Huh?
I think I know we've shared it behind the scenes. I don't know if we talked about it on camera though.
Should I tell the story?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Well, what is it? So again in 11. In my junior year, I had this idea of doing a project where I would photograph women with and without their makeup on. How you thought I said clothes? I was like, perverts. No. No. Yeah, women with and without their makeup on, because I was, I have, having two sisters and a mother, I kind of observed this, and also just working with models, because you'd be surprised at the power, what makeup can do. I just remember, just going off from my childhood, I remember like my sisters would, when they didn't wear makeup, they looked one way and acted as one way, but when they put on makeup and they were, out in the world, they acted a different way. I mean, and also similarly with models, like when they didn't have makeup on, they're one way, and then once the makeup was on and they're in front of the camera, they were another way. And so I was interested in the kind of the duality of the identities in a single individual. In this case, women. And so again, I took pictures of the women with and without their makeup on, and then I And I took those pictures and I placed them, in a hallway facing each other. And in doing so, I created this imaginary space uh, for the two identities to, quote unquote, meet. And during my critique, this one girl, she's a lovely girl, but she was definitely, a feminist, and and I really I don't have any sort of malice against her. I just, she was just wrong. That's all it was. She was just wrong. And so,
Did you mansplain to her that?
um, yeah, she was just wrong. And anyway, so I present my class, and I thought about this project, well in advance. I was like, how am I going to present this? I don't want anyone to think that I was making a value judgment about, whether women without their makeup are more beautiful or less beautiful than women with their makeup. And so, like, I staggered the images, so it wasn't just one line of women with makeup and one side without. I switched them, I staggered them, you know again, I staggered them, and then she still made the comment, is like, oh, your work seems to rely heavily on women. It's like, have you ever thought of using men for your work? And at the time, you know like the work that I did show her. Uh, what was it? It was a lot of my commercial work. So
Yeah.
a lot of fashion stuff, and I was when I was trying to get land jobs with like fashion companies and things like that, I did photo shoots with women, and because women are like 99% of the fashion industry, and like and again 99% of the marketing budget for fashion stuff is towards women, and so I was trying to prove that I can shoot women. And so she brings this up to me, and I was like, no, I just, I was like saying, oh, from my experience though, because I have two sisters, I was just curious about this phenomenon that happened, that that they would be one way without their makeup and one way with their makeup on. And then so she then enlists the help of another girl in our class. But it was funny because, like, it's like, well, I think you rely too heavily on women. And then she, like, turned to the girls, like, well, what do you think? And I could see in that girl's face that, she didn't have a problem with my work. And she didn't have anything really to say. But for some reason, it's kind of like the homie thing, where you got to back up your homie, and like, because they were both women, so they had she had to back her up. I was like, yeah, well, I guess you do use a lot of women in your work, and I mean, I guess it wouldn't hurt if you were to shoot men. I was like, okay, that's fine, but that's not what if you could just judge me on like the thing that I presented you right now, that would be great. Or if you had like some if you had some notes for me about this specific work, and not try to slam me for,
Some metaphorical work that you want.
Yeah. But I think I was lucky, because I was kind of vindicated, because my teacher, he had invited this art critic or art writer, someone who writes about art, to our class that day.
Right.
And she loved my project. She applauded me, not like literally, but she was like saying, it's like, oh, I think this work is so great. It's like this and she was like saying, like, this easily could have been turned into like a Dove Dove body soap commercial or whatever kind of thing. But but I was very smart and clever about how I staggered the images, and I was I made sure that I wasn't I wasn't making a value judgment, and so in that way I was vindicated in my work, and so and then that was another moment where, like, before, I told you before that, I had like the cup to my mouth, that the comment from my teacher saying like I should try to make bad photographs is like that took it away. But then that incident with my classmate that made me put the cup down on the table.
Yeah, it's
and thank God I did.
Thank God for that, because I don't think we could otherwise be friends.
I know, right? Right. If that didn't happen, then this podcast, this show would not exist.
That's pretty amazing how that all worked out.
Right. Yeah, I was really close, because again, it was like because going back to Kanye, I was very close to accepting the victimhood mentality.
Yeah.
Because and that was one of the things when I would get attacked, for being a man. It's like, but hey guys, I'm crippled. You can't. It's like, so why are you attacking me? I'm a crippled. You can't attack me because I'm crippled.
Well, I guess you didn't win the Oppression Olympics that day.
Yeah, I didn't win the Oppression Olympics that day. I didn't even get bronze. I guess my penis trumps my hands.
Apparently. Very sad.
Very sad. But
but now you're a winner, so
yeah. But now I'm a winner, so it doesn't matter.
Oh man, it's just the world is a very crazy place. It's just people do things that make me question humanity and my own sanity. It's just.
Well, I guess we can move on to one of the other things I wanted to discuss, which is what happened to Roseanne Barr.
Oh man, yeah, it's funny. I just got done talking about that with my parents.
I mean, here's the thing, because again, I'm not going to necessarily defend what she tweeted. For things like that, I default to the Patrice O'Neill philosophy, where it's like I will always defend the right of someone to try to be funny.
Yeah.
And that's it. I don't care what they. I won't defend what they said, but I will defend their right to try and be funny. And so the tweet that Roseanne put out, like she was just she was trying to be funny. Did it miss the mark? Maybe, but it's her right to try and be funny.
Yeah, I will say this. Well, I did watch the I didn't watch the new one, but I watched. I used to watch the old Roseanne show,
Mm-hmm.
and. But I've never been a big fan of hers. Just saying, I'm not a huge fan of hers. But what she said was, like I said, in poor taste. It was, like I said, a joke maybe that went bad, and maybe probably shouldn't have been said. And but the fact is that she. Actually apologized for it, and it seemed like a pretty genuine apology. I didn't see it as something that was just so deplorable. But the fact that she wasn't allowed to, that was okay, yeah, it's all right. You apologize for it. It's all good. Whereas you get other people on the other side, you get Kathy Griffin, who has the severed head of Donald Trump, and she kind of shed some crocodile tears and said that she I'm so sorry, but it was kind of one of these fake apologies.
right, where the crying but no tears.
Yeah, and it's but yeah, no no repercussions really. I mean, I don't think it really hurt.
Well, I mean,
hurt
she
her
was dropped
career
by
any.
CNN, and then supposedly like some venues dropped her because like she was supposedly uh, booked at certain venues, and then after that happened, certain venues dropped her from performing there. But
Yeah.
but I would like to go from there,
But
because
the reaction is so much different from to the
right,
both
and
of
I mean
those.
let's talk about proportionate like response. Was like again as you were saying, was this tweet in bad taste? Was it wrong of her to go after this person's looks? Maybe, you know, and but was the tweet offensive enough to the point where a network scraps an entire TV show?
That seems a little bit much.
Exactly. I mean, I'm just talking about proportionality. Because I mean, with the Kathy Griffin thing, that you in effigy, you're holding the head of the severed head of a sitting U.S. president.
Yeah.
That is just jackassery of the highest order.
Yeah.
And so her being dropped by CNN and her losing all of her venues, that's to be expected. Because you in effigy held the severed head of a sitting U.S. president. But Roseanne just attacked one, went after one person, whether fairly or unfairly, going after their looks, and then apologized for it, and yet, there's, they shut down an entire network TV show. Not, and it's not just hurting her, but it's hurting, everyone on that show, from, the co-stars to all the way down to
All the camera guys, all
camera
the
guy, the sound
writers.
guys, the makeup, the props. It's you're basically killed off an ecosystem.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then also kind of Owen Benjamin style, her agency dropped her as a client.
Wow. I didn't hear that part.
Yeah, that was the latest. That was a recent development. But her agent has even dropped her. So where's the proportionality? She said she was sorry, and from what I can tell, like the apology seemed genuine, and yet they still canned her show, right?
Yep.
And I mean, and like I don't know if you remember last month or earlier this month, like the correspondence dinner at the White House.
Oh, with all the Michelle Wolf.
Yeah, Michelle Wolf ripped into people, and whether or not she was making fun of Sarah Huckabee Sanders' looks. She was being
we can quote unquote jokes that were really just not
right.
funny.
I mean, she was being pretty mean spirited about she's being pretty mean spirited about it. And guess what? I just heard I heard that she is being given her own show.
God. Oh God. I don't know how anyone can stand that voice of hers. Oh
yes. Oh my God. I'm surprised I endured as long as I did watching that clip. I was like, it was kind of like listening to nails being run over a chalkboard, and just
exactly.
And I was just gritting my teeth the whole time, just going, I was like, oh God, when is it over?
Yeah, it was. Oh God, but it's he's a liar and he lies. It's yeah, that's not a joke. That's not even a punchline. Just
Right. Yeah, and and she like went after Kellyanne Conway. I don't know if like she said that she was a slut or something. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But
Yeah,
again,
but
her like the quote unquote jokes were very mean spirited.
but you look at like someone like as much as I disagree with pretty much anything that comes out of his mouth, Stephen Colbert has done that show before, and it's like but at least he's funny. Yeah, it's it's
Debatable.
it's just but he I think he understands like the timing and stuff a little bit better, but it's just you look at even like with like the Daily Show when Jon Stewart was doing it. I don't agree with Jon Stewart on pretty much anything, but at least he's funny.
True.
That's
true.
The new guy Trevor Noah,
Oh god.
I don't find him funny at all. I find it's just he's not funny.
Yeah. No, agreed. And yeah, I mean, yeah. Because here's the thing. Because I bet if I was still left left inclined, I probably think it was funny. If I was still who I was, but more left inclined, and I heard that Trump, Putin cockholster joke, I laugh. It's because that's funny. But then immediately, I'd have to flog myself for laughing because all of a sudden it's like, oh no, that's a homophobic slur. I was like, what?
Let me burn myself with a couple of cigarettes to.
I know, right? It's like, I'm sorry.
Oh man.
But yeah, but I'm coming back to proportionality. It's like, I mean, who knows? Like, is what? They're only like 6 episodes in.
Something like that, yeah. It
So
wasn't
are
very
they like?
long.
I mean, are they gonna let it run to however many episodes that they did film, or are they like immediately gonna pull it? I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's crazy because they after like was the first 4 or 5 episodes, season 2 re-upped, and then now it's just like well, never mind, everything's done.
Yeah.
I'll be curious to see
It's just proportionality, because Trump gets shit for calling MS-13 murderers animals, and
oh man, I can't believe how many it's like. Nancy Pelosi is like, they're just
like they're human beings. Like they're human beings that kill other human beings in like the most horrific manner possible.
I don't know.
And you still want to confer like humanity on these assholes.
I mean, she could tell me that today's May 29th, and I'd had to check my calendar to make sure it was correct. It's just
no. See, if she told me that it was May 29th, I still wouldn't believe her. even if I checked the calendar and it said May 29th, I still wouldn't believe her.
Yeah.
And operate like it was the 28th or the 30th.
It's just the stuff that comes out of.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, like again, proportionality, because Trump called MS-13 animals, and then Hillary Clinton called Americans deplorables. Half of Americans deplorables, and yet nothing.
It was, and I found this to be a very apt observation. I forget who it was. I think it might have been Ben Shapiro who was talking about the Wrath of Khan, where it was that like earworm thing that Khan used to that he put in Chekhov's brain.
Oh yeah, Centurion slugs.
Yeah, and that's essentially what's happening here, where it's like Donald Trump can get those guys to pretty much it's like when he comes out against like these horrible like gangs or the things that are actually wrong, it's like they go crazy and they defend just the worst
they end up defending murderers.
Yeah, I couldn't believe
You
it.
know, it's like
it's like these guys are beating the hell out of teens, cutting out people's hearts, decapitating
I mean, they're
people.
killing children, they're murdering and raping women, they're mutilating men.
I mean, hell, like the prison that they have down in their own country. I mean, they don't even have any guards because I mean they have like an
Yeah, because
army that
they
surrounds
run the
the
prison.
prison. Yeah, that's bunch of winners there. Just a bunch of misunderstood winners. It's
it's another one of those. It's almost kind of like one of those other Winston Churchill quotes where he was saying how was it Hitler or Stalin? Well, either way, it was probably Hitler. It's like if Hitler invaded hell, I'm pretty sure I could have it there. I could find a few nice things to say about the devil. You know, and that's kind of what was it?
That probably could have been said about Stalin too.
True. Yeah. Yes. That's why I wasn't sure if he said that about Hitler or Stalin. But yeah, he said like So I guess if Hitler or Stalin invaded hell, I'm sure I could find a few nice things to say about the devil.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, it's
You know,
pretty
and
true.
I know Churchill was using it more as a like kind of. Oh no, it was Hitler because he had invaded Russia, and then they're saying like, oh, why are we helping Stalin? He's just as bad, and then Churchill comes up with that little phrase.
Yeah. Oh man.
But I mean, in this case, it's really bad because they're saying nice things about the devil, even though no one is trying to invade hell.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Interesting times we live in, Andy.
Aren't they though? So nice, so nice. Well, I guess the last thing I wanted to talk or bring up was it kind of relates to the weekend, but I was just gonna share an anecdote because after we met up with James's jiu-jitsu buddies, we actually met up with Christina Park.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then I was talking to her for a little bit, and she was talking about a fella that she was seeing, and
All right.
she was worried. She expressed to me some concern because she had told herself that she was gonna be single for a while, and but then she, this guy seemed, the guy that she's seeing seems like really nice and not at all like the guys that she has been with in the past. And she kind of asked for my opinion, because I mean we were actually out, they were out and then we met them up, so she wanted my take on this guy that she was seeing with, and so I was like, yeah, I mean he seems like a nice guy, but she told him that that me and James and Jason, that we were really good friends of hers, and like especially particularly with me and Christina, like we have like this really close relationship where to the outside viewer it sounds like we hate each other.
Oh yeah, you're frenemies.
Yeah, no, I mean I love the girl to death, and it's just like I put her down, she puts me down. We just sling insults at each other, all the time. But there's
that about our relationship too, Andy.
What was that?
I was saying some could say that about our relationship too, Andy.
That's true. Yeah. See, Robert's my brother, but so I have to put him down. I have to, undermine his confidence and
I wouldn't know you cared otherwise.
exactly. If one day I came to him, Robert, I love you. And he's like, who the hell are you?
What did I do to piss you off?
I was like, what did I do to piss you off? That'd be the reaction. But and so, I expressed this to Christine. Like, well, this guy knows that we're like your best friends. So, so I'm sure he's on his best behavior, best behavior. And she was saying like, oh no, he's super nice, and he practically worships me. I was like, oh, okay. And then and then she was saying like, well, because the guys I used to pick, in the past were like verbally abusive, after like 3 months or whatever, and blah 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 blah. And so I was like, well, you know, uh, who's to say that this guy won't be any different, after those 3 months, or let's say that he is everything he says he is, and he's a really nice guy, and he worships, he'll crawl a mile on broken glass just to sweat in your shadow. Is that
Yeah.
is that the guy? Is that the guy that you want to that the kind of guy you want to be with? Or are you just like overcorrecting for assholes that you were with in the past? And so I was kind of playing like a little Dr. Love matchmaker, just kind of laying out the being the fortune teller and laying out the tarot cards for her. And so
Yeah, I think a lot of when it comes to that as well is I think a lot of people don't really know what they want in in kind of when they start dating someone, and and so they I mean, obviously, physical attraction is, it's always going to be like a part of that, but the fact that I think sometimes that becomes the only factor in a lot of ways. And I find for, probably about like 3 to 6 months, that's where you have that like threshold of where you can kind of, keep a shine on yourself until like a lot more of your real qualities come out. But I think a lot of times is that people, they're, looking to that physical attraction, like, oh, we have a couple interests, that's kind of cool. But after a while, like, that sometimes that stuff goes away, and people, what like you said, you find that like, oh, man, I keep going after like the same type of person, and it's like and then they keep banging their head against the wall, and they keep it's like thinking like, oh, I'll just keep doing the same thing, and when they keep getting the same results instead of something different, and it's like kind of like, what do you expect? Guys and girls do this, alike.
True. Yeah, I mean, maybe you should just. She was saying because she was saying that she really likes this guy, or she's finding herself really liking this guy, and
Right.
but then I suggested to her, I was like, well, maybe you should just keep your promise to yourself and just stay single.
Yeah.
Allow yourself the gift of singlehood.
Well, like I said, that's their because I know people who they're never single, they're always with somebody,
right? Those
and
serial monogamous people.
Yeah, and it's like, well, but then they like chameleon themselves into these relationships where it's like, and they don't actually know anything about their own likes and dislikes.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know Christina as well as you guys do, because I know she she travels a lot. She likes to be out and about, and she's kind of a very social person. And I think there's a lot of coaching that I think she's doing, and I don't know if she's necessarily found what she wants or needs like from someone else in a relationship. And until you know that, you're always going to be finding the wrong people.
Wise words. Wise words.
Not to bash on Christina, because I think she's great. I think she's very smart. She's fun to talk with.
No, yeah, she's the homie.
Yeah,
I knew we were gonna be. Yeah, I knew we were gonna be good. Just, because I have that rule. Like, I don't know how well we're gonna get on if you don't roast me in the first 15 minutes. And she roasted me. And then it was great because I like hit her back and she was able to take it. And I was like, oh, hell yeah, new sparring partner.
It's always fun. But the advice, that's the advice that I give to anyone though. It's, you got to know yourself first and not necessarily look for only your own needs and wants. I mean, that's important. You need to be with someone that can meet your needs, but also you need to also find someone that what makes you, what the good points about you is something that helps make them better too. Because it's not just a one-way street.
So yeah, you're basically looking for someone who you can be yourself around, but also makes you want to be better.
Yeah, exactly, and vice versa. You want that,
right? And you should want to be that type of person for the other person.
Yeah, because if the relationship goes for towards like marriage, that's a lifelong commitment that people make. It's like, well, they obviously like it's getting tough. I think I'm out, and they obviously they break off those commitments. Which is unfortunate.
It's kind of like that thing in Inception about dreams, how it's constantly being built and being self-referential. Like it's like it's the beginning and it's the end, so like it just constantly maintains itself.
Exactly.
Or sustains itself. Either way.
But yeah, so everyone, work on yourselves first. Figure out what you love about yourself, what makes you a benefit to the opposite sex, and once you'll know when you find that right person comes along.
Right, and sometimes you'll find something when you stop looking for it.
That too. I think the other thing is like you have to be okay with yourself, and because I think a lot of other people, they rely on like that other person, that other like guy or girl that like, now I'm gonna be happy, and it's like no, you got to be happy before that. Like,
yeah, it's kind of like that new agey, that new agey philosophy where it's like, oh, like you're not whole until you find your other half, and it's like no, first be a whole. And then be able to merge with someone else.
Exactly, and it's you got to be happy with yourself. Don't put the pressure on that other person. Like, you make me so like that. You're relying on them for your happiness.
Right. Because the Tom Cruise line from Jerry Maguire is like, "You complete me." It's like, oh. Eat a bag
easily
of
the worst in the film.
I know. And like women seem to forget, like they're broken up, and he's like he's on his knees begging. He's not necessarily saying that. So he's basically saying that he's that he's not a complete person, and that he needs this woman in his life to be made whole.
Yeah.
But, I mean, even in the Bible, it says like two become one. He doesn't,
exactly.
It's not a half and a half become one. It's two wholes become one.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, first be a whole, well-rounded individual, and then go get to merging with somebody else. But make sure also that they are at your level, because there is wisdom in the old adage of don't be differently yoked.
Oh, absolutely. You got to have the same value system for it to work.
Yeah, because you don't necessarily have to run on the same track, but you best be running in the same direction.
Yeah, you have to be at least be in the same race.
Yeah. Well, that's all the things that I want to talk about. We're coming on the 1:30. Is there anything that quickly you might want to bring up?
No, I this is your show today. I just kind of came in and kind of merged in a little bit. So
I know this is Robert's ghost. He's not. Or this is Robert's ghost. He's not back. He's not rehired. It's just his ghost.
I had nothing other to contribute to the show. So as usual, I usually have nothing to contribute to anything ever. But all our fans know.
I would contradict you. But it's true. He brings nothing.
Yeah. The only thing I can say is that keep on watching for Thursdays. We got some new episodes coming up for the Zelda playthrough, and that's pretty much it.
All right, you heard the ghost. Maybe that could be your new nickname, Rob the Ghost. Instead of Homeboy Rob, you be Rob the Ghost.
All right, sounds good.
Anyway, that'll do it for us tonight. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for be sure to join us every Tuesday at 8:00 ish. Sometimes, I don't know, maybe we'll let you know. At 8:00 Pacific Daylight Time for Nocturnal Transmissions. If you have any suggestions for our discussions, please don't be afraid to leave it in the comments. We will read them. We will reply to them. Again, don't forget to catch Robert's show, Up by Up Down. That'll be dropping on Thursday. Our new episode this Thursday. Don't forget to also check out the library of other videos on the Circle of Jerks podcast channel page. We don't have enough we don't have enough subscribers yet to have a personalized URL, but just go to YouTube, go to the search bar and type in Circle of Jerks podcast, and we'll be the first one because we've been putting up the most content under that name. There are a bunch of Circle of Jerks There are a bunch of different podcasts by that name, but I think we definitively own it because we're the only ones who are constantly putting up content under that name. So it's ours.
Exactly.
You can't have it back. Yes, don't forget.
It's kind of like with the discussion we had with Lane's Lair with the Nirvana.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's also a great episode too. So if you haven't, check out either the full episode of the Circle of Jerks podcast featuring Lane's Lair, or the excerpt of Lane's Lair explaining his time in Nirvana. And yes, his Nirvana was the first Nirvana. The Kurt Cobain Nirvana was the second one. And there is an interesting tale to be heard. So again, check that out in the library.
And I've seen the news clipping about that too. So it's a real thing. He's not just making it up.
Oh yeah. Oh I totally forgot to include the link for that. If you can send that to me later.
Yeah, I'll have him send it to you.
Yeah, so I could put it up in the clip. Just quickly, don't forget to follow us on our various social medias. Circle of Jerks podcast on Instagram and Podcast COJ on the Twitter. So
We will
again,
respond.
what was that?
I was saying we will respond.
Yes, we will respond.
And we follow back.
Yes, we will respond. We will follow back. We will whisper sweet nothings in your ear. We'll tickle your balls. Whatever you want. Again, thank you
for whatever we can get.
All right, I'm still after that elusive hate comment. So, so yes, thank you for joining us. Come back next week.
Sounds like a plan.
Adios.